Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of And Now You Know with Bette and Julz. I'm Bette.
And I'm Julz.
And today is going to be a fun one. Super fun and airy. Today we're going to talk about some of my dating stories, and Julz is going to share some of her dating advice.
Mine were a long time ago, so mine's going to be advice at this time.
Yes. But this is going to be, just fun and sharing stories. No names will be mentioned, even though they are not innocent. So I'm not leaving names out to protect the innocent because they're not innocent.
We don't use names. We don't use names. And I want y'all to know that before I respond, I pray that God gives me the right words, because I never ever want to toss out a good contender.
Yeah.
I like to be very thoughtful about, we got to give each other grace.
Yeah. Well,
we got to give men grace every now and then too.
I do give grace. But at the time when I decide that, something is not going in the right direction, I am very respectful and I'm very kind in my communication. I never ghost. So I guess we should say that. Never ghost. I never ghost. I'm never disrespectful. I never try to be just, you don't need to stir up chaos. No. You can just say thanks, but no thanks, and just move on.
I just saw something the other day and it made me think about chaos, and life becomes unchaotic when you stop making it chaotic.
Right.
So stop making it chaotic. Stop creating drama and chaos.
Yes.
And there's no reason to be mean. You're not going to love every single person that you go out on a date with. That's not what this is all about. This is about finding the one that you love.
Right. And to be honest, for me personally, I have been very, vocal. I don't know what the word is, but that for me, I am single by choice. And yes, I do have desire to be married again, and I do have desire to find my person. But at the same time, I am not in a rush, and I will not settle.
No.
On the wrong person. And so I want to share some of the funny things that have come up over the last probably few weeks or months, dating experiences.
Recently.
Yeah, these are recent. I've had others in the past that we're not.
Some of them we can't talk about.
Some of them we can't talk about. We won't. But anyway,
it's mind blowing what some of these guys
it's
do.
actually really interesting. So it's funny because I got off of dating apps about a year ago. And so I decided about 30 days ago that, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and jump back in there. And so I did join a couple different dating apps. And I have to say, I'm not that thrilled with the dating apps. I actually never wanted to use dating apps. I don't really love that. What I would absolutely love, just like I think every other single girl would say, I want to be able to walk into whatever, whether it's a grocery store or a bookstore or, walking in the neighborhood or whatever. I want to be able to walk somewhere or a restaurant, and then you happen to lock eyes with somebody. I just think that that's the coolest thing, where you think
it's very romantic.
It's very romantic, and then everything kind of fades away, and then you hear this beautiful romantic music in the background. And then
Betty's been watching too much Netflix.
Yes, I have. All the chick flicks, all the romantic things. But anyway, that's really ideally, I am so much of I'm a person-to-person, vibey, touchy-feely kind of person that I really would like to be able to meet somebody completely organically, even if it's a blind date. I'm okay with that. Yeah. I'm okay with my friends. Yeah. Well, only the ones I trust. I'm okay with friends of mine setting me up on a date to go meet someone because I trust them because they know me so well. So I would be okay with that. I just don't love the dating app thing because it's so...
It is dating on steroids, and
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's changed.
Well, and it's so...
Because I met Jay online.
And that was what?
12 years ago.
Yeah.
Wait. 12 years ago. 12 years ago. Yep.
Okay.
This year.
I think for me, the experience feels like you're so unattached from a human. That's the part I don't like.
I feel like today it seems like it's more just about, I'm too old to say this, but about people hooking up.
It's true. It's total hookup culture.
It's not about finding a long term. It's about getting your itch scratched.
Right. And for me, I'm not interested in the hookup culture thing. I am interested in a monogamous relationship. And it's funny so let's just jump into it. Here's something that came up. I want to be married. I do want to be. I believe.
But she wants to be courted first.
I want to be courted first, and I want to be pursued in a way that is of course, respectful and chivalrous.
Yes.
Right. And I love all that.
You want flowers.
Yes, I want flowers, and I'm a girl,
You
and I
want
want
things to be planned out.
I do,
and-
because if I have to plan it, you're already
Yeah.
out. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I have for so much of my life been the person to do for everybody. So,
Yep.
I've had a demanding career and, always the one having to be responsible, having to think through every detail. I've constantly been in this go mode. I don't want to have to do that.
Yep. It's interesting because at my age, I'm struggling with even just planning dinner at night. And so one of my kids, my one with disabilities, lives with us. And I've told them, I'm like, listen, I'll cook it, but I need y'all to come up with what we're going to eat. And maybe one of you go to the grocery store and get it. I'm not going to think of it, go buy it, unload it from the car, cook it, then clean it up.
Right.
And Jay is very helpful. So I don't want it to sound like he is, he'll absolutely do that, but I don't want to have to think about it.
Yeah, but
I don't want to have to think about it all.
Right. And
Yeah.
so it's exactly you saying that. So for me, the example that I was about to bring up, I have so many right now going through my head. So let me just start with one. My very first example is that because I am intentional and because I know what I want and I know what I don't want, and I have my list, because of all of those things,
And the list is kind of a breathing.
it is, and it keeps
ever-changing.
every experience, every conversation, everything that happens makes me refine that list even more.
Yep.
So it's funny. So somebody I was talking to, and it was just on the platform. There's the DMing that you can do in the platform. So we were talking back and forth, and he asked me out, and I personally, as we have talked about before, we always do the interview date first, which is usually a coffee date, no alcohol.
Daytime.
Daytime.
Morning or lunch.
Yes,
yeah,
morning.
And then you've got a hard stop.
Right. And so he asked me out to dinner, and I said, actually, I prefer to start with a coffee date. I actually think that a lot of women feel like when a coffee date is being offered, a lot of women think that might be low effort.
Yeah.
But I actually think that I prefer it because it feels like, let's just get to know each other first before I have to be stuck with you for 2 or 3 hours at a dinner. I don't want to do that. I just want to just feel it out first.
Yeah, when I was dating, I had a location, same spot, same time, same day. And I just let them know, this is kind of like an interview. We're going to have lunch and, maybe put some things out there about ourselves because, we might not want to go out with each other after that. And it's just so much clearer if you don't have any alcohol and maybe you've just got like an hour and a half. There's no awkward expectation in the culture of today.
Right.
If you go out for somebody at dinner, then you're standing out there by the car and there's kind of an expectation of something else.
Yeah. Well, that's actually another example that I'll talk about after.
Yeah.
Remind me to get back to that. Remind me. Okay. So he was fine with coffee when I, said no to dinner, but let's do coffee instead. We actually set the day and the time. We were totally going to move forward. And in the conversations that continued throughout because we couldn't meet for 4 or 5 days out. And so in the conversations that followed up in the next few days, one of the questions for me, for one, I have to say, if you have a dating profile and you haven't bothered to include information and say stuff, I find that to be a turnoff because
do you have kids?
Yeah, do you have kids? Well, and that's just some people write absolutely nothing at all, but some people write a whole book, which I actually appreciate because I read it because it tells me a lot of who they. Number one, they're already trying to tell you about who they are, but it tells me even more of who they are that they took the time to write it all down because they're actually serious.
What does yours say?
Well, we'll get into that in a second. I actually write a lot about me, but we'll talk about that in a second. Don't interrupt me, Julz.
Sorry, squirrel. Sorry.
Squirrel moment. I lost my train of thought.
I wonder what Betty wrote.
Well, I think mine is really, actually, I've been complimented on mine quite a bit.
Mine was good too.
So, yeah, I think mine was good. So anyway, so this guy, he did say a little bit about himself in terms of, his profession, his age. Always please be truthful about your age because some people are liars when it comes to their age.
And hey, you know what? There are things out there where we can do a little bit of background checking
And find out the age.
and we find things out.
And as soon as I find out, okay, so now we've diverted, but hold on. Once
sorry.
I find out that if somebody lied on something as little as their age, I'm already out. I'm out. And some people have lied about their age. And, anyway, so don't lie. Just don't
No,
lie.
good
So
Lord.
your age, your, people put their profession, people put on there a little bit about themselves. And sometimes these dating apps will give you like prompts, like they'll ask you a question or like complete this, this phrase for just to be able to help you, with figuring out what you want to say. Well, anyway, this guy did say some stuff about himself, which I appreciated, but he did not include if he had kids or if he was ever married. And I think that's important to include that. And let me get into that in 1 second. So he didn't include that. So I asked the question, how long were you? And my assumption is everybody's been married. So how long were you married? And how long have you been divorced? I always ask that. And then I say, how many kids do you have? And what are their ages? I ask those questions because it is important to me, because I'm looking for something particular. So that's specific. And if it doesn't align with me, then we can just save us both some time. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste mine either. And so for me personally, this guy responded and he said he had 2 kids that are older, already out of the house in their late 20s. But then he said that he had never been married. Okay, now this is where no judgment to anybody else.
All personal preference.
All personal
what
preference.
You're looking for.
I personally have a really big problem with that. And I don't want to date any person, any man that has kids that was never married. That is a personal preference, and I'll get into that in a second. Anyway, so he responded and said never married, and so I said, well, hey, just curious, are you open to marriage? Is that something that you're interested in? Or are you just looking for long-term partnership and companionship, right? And then he responded and he said that, he's like, well, I could get married if I wanted to, but, from what I see of my friends and from what people recommend, at this age, why bother? That's basically the response. Well, so I responded and I said very nicely, well, done, but I responded very nicely.
Yeah.
And I said, and I read it to her and
Yep.
she said, that was really good.
It was.
Very kind, very respectful. And I just said, I am dating with intention of marriage and personal preference and no judgment. People can choose to live their lives however they want to.
Just want to know
but
up front.
For me, I want to know that I'm aligned with somebody that shares my values and my beliefs. And for me, it is marriage. If we're doing this thing, it's because it's going somewhere.
Absolutely.
And it's going to lead to marriage. And so I said to him, I can't be with anybody that doesn't already have that. Now, let me just say, I'm not saying you have to propose to me tomorrow. I'm not saying I'm expecting a ring in 60 days.
No, you have to date at least a year to a year and a half before you get the ring.
I'm not saying, well, I want the ring sooner.
No.
I want the ring sooner. I'm not planning to be
you can
married.
have a ring in a year.
Okay, we maybe have a little bit of, disagreement in the time frame of it, but my point
let the
is
euphoria kind of simmer
No,
down.
I get it. But my point though is that I don't even want to enter into anything with anyone that doesn't already have their mind clear on what they want in their intention. I think I agree. That makes a very big difference. And if you are a woman and you know what you want, I even say if you're a man and you know what you want and you want to get married and you're dating somebody that's saying to you, oh, I'm not sure, let's just see how it goes. Okay,
that's on you.
That's on you. Why would you then they already told you. This is when you have to pay attention to ask the questions and pay attention to the response, and don't try to make it what you think you're going to force out of them. Oh, well, they haven't dated me yet, so I'll make them want to get married.
It's like you're 18 all over again, and you're sitting there thinking, I'm so special that I can change him or I can change her. You're not. I mean, you're special, okay? We're all special, but we're not special enough to change someone.
Yeah, no.
At this point in the game.
I just don't believe that we have
And
the power
please
to change anyone.
Don't say that you are 6'1" if you're 5'6".
Oh,
because we
please.
can tell.
Please. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. So, okay, here's another. Well, let me tell you how that example ended with this particular guy. He responded to my text about, I want to be married and I only want to get into any kind of, situation or meet people that have the same intention. Well, he responded and he said that he 100% respected that and appreciated that I brought that to him early on.
Yep.
So I think that right there, I actually think that was a very successful exchange.
It was, very.
Because we communicated very clearly. We hadn't even met yet,
Nope.
but we communicated very clearly. I feel like
And the coffee got canceled.
and the coffee date got canceled. Why would we meet?
Right.
Why would we meet for coffee? There's absolutely no reason to. So I really appreciated the fact that I asked him a question. He gave me an honest answer. I gave him an honest answer, and we parted respectfully and nicely.
And there's no reason not to.
And I think that was very successful. Now, on the other hand, let's talk about when people lie on their profiles. They put the wrong information of their height, their age, and their pictures are their weight, and then their pictures are
20 years old.
probably 15 to 20 years old. Okay,
It's like,
now,
what are you, a real estate agent?
okay, so okay, this is
I'm
where
a real estate agent, so I can say
and so am I. That's why it's funny, because we have that's a kind of an industry-wide joke that so many times people have, like, they're using mine is updated.
Mine is very current.
Yeah, mine is
was
very
taken
updated.
just a few months ago.
Yeah, but it's funny though, because anybody in real estate, you know that this is true, and people use glamour shots from back in the day and they're still using it today. Anyway,
Those aren't good pictures.
right. So here's another example of when you lie, how annoying and frustrating it can be, because your intention is to go on a date. So now you have misrepresented yourself, and now I agree to a date and I show up to it, and you're not that person.
No, I remember Jay saying that he met a gal. This was before we met, obviously, and they were meeting for dinner. He didn't know about the interview date yet because he hadn't met me yet, but they were meeting for dinner, and he walked in and walked straight to the hostess to get a table, and the gal that he was meeting was sitting there, except she looked like a ball instead of the skinny, beautiful girl in the pictures. And she
From 2 decades previously.
Right. And she recognized him. And Jay's a gentleman, so he moved forward with the dinner. And he said she was real sweet, but she weighed about 50 pounds more than she did in the pictures that she posted. That's not fair.
It's really not
It's
fair.
not fair.
You can't pretend as if they're never going to see you. Like that's ridiculous. And then to lie about things and pretend that they're never going to find out. Now, if you plan on keeping those things alive forever, you should just stop dating. You should completely remove yourself from the dating pool, because
That's not fair.
that's ridiculous. That's
is.
ridiculous. So her example, it happens to guys, and it also happens to girls.
I went out with a guy
Yeah,
who
yes,
was
that's right.
20 years older than the picture that he posted.
Yep. So because of that experience, now my first question is, aside from have you been married and your kids and whatever, my next question is, how old are your pictures?
Right.
And I learned that the hard way, because I will tell you, on my profile, I have on there all of my pictures are recent from the last 30 to 60 days. And I actually update my pictures.
Yeah.
I will update them.
Yeah.
Now, this particular time, since I hadn't been on for a year, I didn't use the old pictures that I used way
Last
back.
year, yeah.
No, I use recent pictures from the
Right.
last 30 to 60 days. So, and then if I get off the app, I hope to never be on these apps again. My plan is to
Find him.
get off.
Where is he?
Yes. I feel like Charlotte right now in Sex and the City.
I've been dating since I was 14.
Where is he? Anyway, we say that,
It's
but
true.
anyway, but really, my goal is to get off these apps and never go on them
Yes.
again. So I hope to never have to do this. But honestly, if you are on these dating apps, please put on there recent pictures and put it in your profile. Put it in the little description. And you say it I put it on there because I don't want anybody to ask me, because it feels like if you have to ask the question, how old are these pictures? It's like somehow people are feeling misled and
Yep.
duped. And I don't want anybody to think that they're going to meet me and I'm going to appear completely differently than how I showed up on the app.
Right.
I look the same. My
Yep.
pictures are my pictures. I don't have filters on my pictures. It is incredible what people do.
Oh, my Lord.
Even men, how women do it.
They can
a
smooth
lot.
their faces out so much it almost looks like they don't even have a nose.
Well, there are men changing their eye colors. They are totally blurring out their face. They're using different color backgrounds. Oh my God, it's the most craziest thing. And then the other thing is, even if you're not editing your pictures, you're using old ass blurry pictures. Stop
Yep.
doing that.
Yep.
Why would you do that? On the last episode that
and
we
don't
were...
put a picture of yourself on there with your old girlfriend.
Yeah, actually, I just saw one and the guy was wearing his wedding ring.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
No.
seriously? It's funny because on the last episode when we were talking about dating apps...
Are you still married?
Are you still... right?
You never know.
That's the next question.
You're wearing a ring.
Okay, so
Sorry. You
anyway,
just see
I'm
It's
kind of all over the
crazy.
place right now, but those are kind of the do's and don'ts. Please, if you are a woman, be clear with what you're looking for, so that a man isn't just dragging you around by the nose. Because if you don't know what you want, you're going to end up falling for somebody else's idea of what you should be doing.
Well, you're going to be attracted to the guy that you just got rid of.
Right.
I mean, because that's what we do. So we've talked about this before, like we wouldn't just hop in the car and just head north to New York. We would
Without a map.
Without a map. We would map our way there because it's a long drive.
Right.
So why don't we map our way to love?
Right.
And that includes starting with the list. And there's 4 categories.
Yes.
Financial, emotional, spiritual, and physical.
Okay, now here's where I'm going to say, sorry, I just bumped the mic. Here's where I'm going to say, go watch the list. I think it's episode 5 or 6. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Go watch the list because we go way more in depth.
Yeah.
And this is not the place for
No,
it right
it's
now.
not.
But what I will also say about, the experiences that I've had recently, I lost my train of thought.
Sorry. It's my fault. I'm all over the place.
I was about to give another example.
I'm kind of tired today.
What's the one that you just gave?
I don't know. The list.
Oh, okay. I know what I want to say now. For all the women, and for the men too, please, for all the women and all the men. I just had a squirrel moment, and now I'm gonna have to throw something else in. But let me rewind for one quick second. When I was telling the story about my personal preference of dating somebody, that never married, or not dating somebody that's never been married, I'm actually curious to hear the opinions of you out there, women and men. I want to know, at our age, I am now in my mid 40s, and I am curious what everybody else's kind of thoughts and preferences are around that. And these are the categories. Never married and no children, children but never married, and then of course the regular one is, you've been married, you're divorced, and you've had children. Some of them, another category is also, of course you have your widows, and then you have your full-time parents, that a single parent that is a full-time parent. For me personally, the only category that, if I read it, I just completely X out altogether, is never married and no children, or children but never married. Those are the two that I completely cross out. If somebody has been married... You feel
pretty strongly, though, about being married and no children. But I think that we talked about that the other day.
Yes.
And it's like, you could still go have the interview date with that guy and find out what it is that made him make the decision. Because we know women and men who have decided not to have children, and there are really good reasons why.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, well, that makes sense to me.
Right. And it really, it's what Julz said to me that opened my mind up to not nixing that category altogether. And the reason is, if somebody has been married, what I'm looking for is commitment. What I'm looking for is
stickability.
Yes, your ability to, if you are now in your 40s or 50s and you have never been in a committed relationship that resulted in marriage for me, I feel like there's a commitment issue there. And, this is what people say all the time, that if somebody is in a long-term relationship and it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years and they haven't been married, they're never getting
No,
married.
they're not. Why?
So why would then I, for my chapter 2, enter into a relationship with somebody who has already, foresight, who has already previously demonstrated to not have the ability to commit in a way, if it took them 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then they ended up breaking up anyway. So for me personally, I don't have that time to waste.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe in my 20s, I would have been okay with it because, who cares in your 20s? You just do whatever. But now in my mid-40s, where I now have children involved, and I also feel like I'm looking for stability.
Yeah.
I want to be married. I want a future. I want to build something. And I just don't want... Now, I also will recognize the fact that, some people will say that falling in love and being in a relationship is a crapshoot anyway, whether you get married or not. But the part that is...
I disagree with that.
Well, no, but here, hold on. Well, it was a crapshoot for me because
Right.
I never wanted to be divorced. I never thought I would be divorced, and here I am divorced.
I think that it was a crapshoot for me too until
Jay, of course.
Until Dr. Hemfeld.
Oh, true. Dr. Hemfeld is her therapist, not her ex.
True. Yeah. He's the one who guided me.
Yeah.
He helped me map my way to my true love.
Yes. And so I believe that when you meet your person after you've done your healing work, after you've done all that, that's absolutely true.
It's not a crapshoot then.
So, but what my point is that, in the past for me, it had been.
Me too.
And so, the point is, the goal is for that not to happen again. Yeah. So, but the reason why I even brought that up, the whole crapshoot thing, is that your future, what we've always talked about, if you are looking at experiences from the past, you can predict your future from what just happened. And it's funny because I was just listening to a podcast with Jay Shetty, which I love. Yeah. Just listening to a podcast, and he was talking to she's a couples therapist, and she was saying that you can look at somebody's past pattern, their patterns from their previous relationships to determine whether or not that's the kind of person you want to get into a relationship with. So that right there is the point of what I'm talking about. Your stick-to-itiveness. Yep. Do you have the ability to commit? Have you had a long string of, 6 and 9 months relationships? That's not going to be my guy.
No, that's not.
Have you never been married, but you've lived with 4 or 5 different girls? That's not going to be my guy. That just doesn't show me.
It's interesting that you say that because Jay, when we started dating, one of the things that was the most attractive characteristic that he displayed to me was the way that he treated his ex-wife.
Yeah.
And it was just wow, because I'm not sure that she deserved that kind of treatment, but he still does it to this day. And I like his ex-wife. We're all good now. I mean, so much time has passed, and I'm just thankful to have a man that respects women.
Yeah. And you know what? I actually completely agree, because one of the next questions, I have a lot of questions that I ask. I'm a curious
That's what
person.
the interview date's about.
Yes, I have a lot of questions, and look, I'm looking for somebody's character.
Yes.
And the way that they respond to the questions and the way that they have conducted their lives tells me everything I need to know about them. How do you speak about your ex? If you have children with her, how do you speak about the mother of your children?
Right.
And if you are cussing about her and talking, it's saying,
man, I can only imagine how my ex talks about me.
Well, but the thing is if a man is talking to me about his ex and he is saying all sorts of negative and nasty things about her, I'm done with that guy.
I have one ex that talks nice about me and one ex that talks bad about me.
Well, but I'll leave it at that. I won't say anything about that. But anyway, let me go back, because we're jumping all over the place today.
It's my fault.
Let me go back to the category that I've decided to un-nix. It used to be nixed for me, but it's no longer. For a man that has been married but never had children, because I used to say if they never had children, I don't want anything to do with them because they don't know what it's like to sacrifice, and they don't know what it's like to be a protector and a provider.
Some that is true for some.
That is true for some. Yes, believe me, that this is not a blanket statement
Yeah.
for them all. However, I do know some people who are really good men that have been married and have just chosen not to have children. And a lot of times when they choose not to have children, it's because of some traumatic experience that they had in their lives where they had to play the father figure to their younger siblings. And when it's that, I know why you don't want to have kids.
Or not even that they played the father figure, but that they watched situations unfold with other children that were devastating and hard, and they just, they have been dipped in the truth and know what could happen and what could go wrong. And so that experience has left, and that is a huge character building quality in a man. My stepdad had never had children, and he was the guy who fit the profile of being, he only had to serve himself. And he would get mad at my mom for talking to me or my sister on the phone for 5 minutes. And this was back when you got charged for long distance calls. And my mom worked hard, and, she finally got to the point she was like, I'm going to talk to my daughters as long as I want because I work and I'll pay the phone bill.
Yeah. And that's it. That's the
You
feeling.
don't want to have that battle.
Right. I don't want to have that battle. I don't want to have to explain to a man the importance of me being a parent.
Right.
And that's the part
even when your kids are all grown.
Right.
Because that's when you've got your friendship with your kids.
Right. So that is what has prevented me in the past from not talking to people that just didn't have kids at all, period. But what opened me up to it is that if they were committed enough to enter into a relationship, and clearly it didn't work, but how long did it last and what was the situation surrounding it? Now I'm at least open.
Yeah.
I'm open to the possibility and to asking the questions. Now they still might not match me in a bunch of other areas of what I'm looking for, but at least I'm open.
Right.
And I think that was a really good thing that we uncovered.
Yes.
Of how I felt about it. So I thought that was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that the bottom line in this is that if you're on apps, you're meeting strangers, and you've got to be really cautious. You've got to be smart. You have to get to know them before you give them your phone number, before you give them your home address. I remember when I was dating, and Jay was the only one who got to come to my house, but my best friend wanted to know exactly what time he was getting there, and she was hiding and taking pictures of his license plate, and everybody wanted pictures of him and wanted to know all this information. And it's good to have people that have your back, and you need to have a code word to where if you're on a date with someone and it goes south, where you can call and say, hey, I'm bringing a pecan pie tomorrow.
Yep.
And
and
whatever.
And back in the day, you didn't have Find My Friend. You didn't
No.
you didn't share locations.
We didn't get to track.
And so if something happened, you didn't know where the hell they were.
No.
So, there are things that I absolutely think even now and definitely back then that, Julz had in place when she was going on a date, that I think it's important for you to have somebody, at least, I would say at least two people that you tell. You tell when you meet somebody, you give them their name, you give them their phone number.
Where you're going.
And where you're going. So I think that is important to communicate, because you're right. We're talking to strangers.
Yeah.
We don't know who they are, and we're going into random places. And so I just think it's important. Now, of course, the goal and the hope here is that you're always safe,
Right.
and that everything always turns out well. But
Better safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry.
And I would say carry a purse big enough to put a can of wasp spray in it.
I think we told the wasp story in the last episode.
It shoots 25 feet. They can't kill you with it if they take it away from you.
Yeah.
So you just want to be safe.
Yeah, that's important too.
And you want to be very, very particular, because like Bette has said in previous episodes, and I believe it with all of my heart, this is the biggest decision you're going to make in your life, is finding your partner.
Absolutely.
And who you're going to, if it's your first marriage and it's somebody that you're going to build a family with, or second marriage and you're introducing them to your children, it is of utmost importance.
It's a big deal.
Pray,
Wow.
surrender.
Yep.
Bette
Yep.
does that.
All the things. Pray, surrender, refine your list. I'm going to share one more story
Yes.
before we go that I think
And I'll be
is
quiet.
really, really awesome. Huge shout out. I'm going to give a shout out. He's on Instagram. His name is Clint Coley. If you've never heard about him or you've never followed his page, if you're a woman or a man,
How do you spell Coley?
I believe it's Cooley and
Okay.
Clint Clint. So I believe that's how you spell his
He's
last
good.
name. And if it's
Go
not
follow him.
Cooley, then it's Coley. It's one of the two. But let me tell you why he's awesome. And now I'm telling everybody about him and I'm giving him a shout out. So he talks about, he's a comedian, so he has all sorts of different content on his page. But what he does is he gives shout outs to men. These are stories that women send to him, and they are shout outs to men that did something awesome and creative kind of in the dating realm, right? And it's like what he's trying to teach men is that, you can plan an awesome date. You can ask a woman out and make it an amazing experience. And so he had shared so many stories, and they just showed up on my feed. They just showed up, and so I started watching them. I started liking them, and then I started sharing them, and then I started following his page. And I actually sent him a message,
And he responded.
And I sent him a message, and I'll give you the quick recap of it. Here he is, telling me, showing me, introducing me to these incredible men and stories of their creativity, of how they're asking women out and how they're taking the lead, of how they're being creative and making an experience super memorable.
And it doesn't have to be an expensive
No,
date.
and it's not. It's really not. And so I appreciate all of this stuff, and he's literally reprogramming my brain, right? and so here comes this guy that I'm talking to on
And we were hopeful.
and we were hopeful, and we'd met on the coffee date.
Yeah.
We did have the
And that went
interview
well.
coffee date, and that went well. And so in my mind, I am, thinking about when's our first date and what's the first date going to be like.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. And Clint set the bar super high. He set the
But
bar.
it's not even that high. It's just somebody giving it some thought.
Yeah. Look,
It doesn't have to be fancy or
it doesn't have to be fancy, but
Just some thought.
the experiences that he has. Honestly, I would love for men to go follow that page just to give them ideas. It's not for you to do an exact replica of somebody else's date. It's just to give you ideas
just spark some thought and
it doesn't
creativity.
have to be hard. So anyway, I'm totally appreciating all of these examples and all this stuff. And so this guy, for our first date, really, it was a Netflix and chill situation.
come to my house.
Come to my house and watch this movie.
No.
So you can
Booty
imagine that, of course, that's what Julz said.
Immediately.
But you can imagine that I'm totally, well, not only pissed, but I'm deflated because I'm thinking, man, I was so hopeful. I really liked him. The idea and the thought of, I felt like we had a lot in common, and I felt like this might go somewhere. I mean, super early on because it was
he
just
was so
first date.
handsome.
Yeah, handsome guy. Anyway, so thought that might turn into something, and then really that's what comes back to me, and I'm thinking, no damn chance is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And so the next thing I do is I send a DM to Clint and tell him about the experience that I had. And I said, first, I want to thank you because the platform that he created and, what he's sharing is super awesome. And then I also wanted him to hear the experience of somebody on the other end not getting a thoughtful, creative, and considerate offer for a first date. So I wanted to share that with him because I said, hey man, you set the bar really high and this is what I just experienced and I'm super bummed out. And it was so funny.
But it was lame.
It was
lame.
super lame.
Netflix and chill on your first date. That's 6 months in.
Not okay with it at all.
No.
But Clint was so kind, and he responded back to me, and he actually said, he said, thank you for the message. But then he also said, sorry that happened. And he said, if you're still interested in the guy, maybe you should let him know because some guys are just clueless and they just don't know that is offensive and unacceptable. And so I thought to myself, I thought to myself, I appreciated the response because he has,
250,000.
Yeah, it was like
followers.
180 or 100 whatever something thousand followers, and he responded, which I'm grateful for, and it was very thoughtful. And at the same time, I sat there and thought about it, and I thought to myself, that ship has sailed, so I won't be responding to the guy, and I won't be, explaining to him why I felt like that was, the wrong move for him to make. I'm not going to do that. But I think that, maybe in the future I would be open to having more conversation on the front end.
Yeah.
To maybe sharing that, my expectations, and maybe a little bit more clarity. But it was just in that particular experience, it was. It was not salvageable for me.
No, there was some other stuff that went on in communication.
It was just not salvageable for me. But anyway.
But we're also not here to mother and raise men who are already 50.
Right.
I mean, they really should know by this point how to be a gentleman, and, dinner and flowers is nice,
Even, honestly,
open doors.
Even dinner and a movie. Because here's what I thought was going to happen. I thought it was going to be dinner and a movie at a theater.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be, and I actually, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, that could be fun.
That would be fun.
We would have dinner, have great conversation. I'm all about conversation and laughter. I keep things lighthearted, whatever. And then we can go to a movie. So I
Hold
actually
hands and eat popcorn.
Yeah, I actually thought that that's the route we were going until I found out that it was a movie that had just been released on Netflix, and there was no dinner involved.
No.
And then it was, at his
Netflix
house, and then I was out. Then I was not happening. Yeah.
No, and then it's not my story, so I shouldn't say it.
Don't say it. Don't say it, because I don't know what you're gonna say. What are you gonna say?
Just that then he was pretending he was testing you to see what you would do.
Yeah, that was the response, was like, I was so relieved when you said no to
Whatever.
I was like,
whatever. You were not.
Yeah, I don't. That was yet another reason to turn me off.
Testing me now.
Yeah.
So anyway,
so it was a test on whether or not I was going to say yes to going, and I'm not okay with that. So.
I think the whole point of all this is that when you have your list made out and you have your roadmap laid out, then it becomes really clear when you're sitting in front of someone on the initial conversation, and there's no reason to ghost. We've got the breakup text.
Yep.
And it's they're usually very happy, and they respect the fact that you didn't just blow them off and leave it hanging out there.
Yes, and by the way, when you just said respect, I also want to say this guy, I was very respectful. Julz read the text. We crafted the text together, and I made sure it was about being kind and respectful when I said I'm out. You still don't have to be rude. You still don't have to ghost.
No,
we just
not interested.
I think we all just need to be mature about it, and then just say what you need to say, which I did.
I mean, the basic text is, thank you for your time. Unfortunately, I don't feel the chemistry that I'm looking for. I hope you find what you are looking for. Take care.
I wish you all the best.
I wish you all the best. Take care. Super. If you want to refine it, put it into Chat GPT and say, tweak this and make it more personal, or make it more funny, or, whatever. But
the base of the text is always the same. So the first line, and then you add in whatever you feel like you might need to add in, and then the closing is always the same. I have used that text so many different times, and I just want to say that always, always, always lead with honesty, lead with integrity, always be kind, always be respectful. Even if I'm pissed, which I have been, even if I'm upset and frustrated at how something turned out to be, I am still kind and respectful, and I made sure to tie up any loose ends. Yeah. You can't just disappear.
You can't. Why? We've got all the technology in the world to communicate.
Yep.
So one of our very dear friends always says you can be bold but kind. So you're not going to love every single guy you go out with. That's the whole point of dating. You go out with them you spend time with them to see if you want to spend more time with them.
Yep.
And then you spend more time with them, and then hopefully it keeps going. If not, then you found what you were looking for.
Yep.
So anyway.
So I think that concludes today's episode.
Sorry.
This was kind of it was a fun one because it's all the things that she's been hearing me say over the last few weeks. And so we're like, okay, this is a great topic to talk about because I am sure I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one frustrated at dating apps.
No.
I'm not the only one that's thinking there has to be a better way than this. But
Gosh,
anyway,
I'm
here's
glad
where
I
we
don't
are.
have to date.
Yeah.
I really am. I just tell Jay every day I'm so thankful for him.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to ask you for your comments and your feedback on a couple different things I've already mentioned. I'm curious how y'all feel about never married and no kids, or kids with never married, or married with no kids. I'm just curious at how
never married at all.
or never right. Never married.
Did
no
you already
kids.
say that?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
I'm just curious at how other men or women,
Right.
because some men say the same thing. Some men say that if a woman is in her 40s or 50s and she's never had kids and she's never been married, they think she's a red flag too.
Yeah.
So I'm just
I
curious.
think she is too.
I'm curious. I mean, I think it is on both ways. But anyway, just share your thoughts. And if there's any questions or if there are any other topics that you're interested in having us talk about, share those too. And you can also send us an email at hello@bettyandjulz.com, BETTE.
And JULZ.
And thank you so much for spending a part of your day with us. We appreciate you watching. Make sure that you share this episode and any other that you think can help a family or friend. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.